if they expect me to walk away from Luton with nothing, I'll make very sure there's nothing to walk away from.
Hello and welcome to the Oak Road Hatter podcast. No, you are not dreaming. Yes, you are hearing this right. This is Kieran Robertson hosting the podcast today. I'm here live with Finley Cannon and Jamie Castle. Gents, how are we getting on? Start with you, Finn.
Yeah, I'm good. Still reflected on the game on Sunday and sort of got more to look ahead to now, so can't take too long on that one. Got to travel up to Liverpool on Wednesday.
Jamie, what about you, son? How are you feeling post Man United?
I think first of all, I'm a bit of one of those FM emotions, sort of feeling uncertain. Kieran Robertson hosting a podcast. You know when they think the grass is always greener, and who knows? We'll find out what happens in the next 45 minutes. But no, sort of same emotions as before, really, with United. Just think about what could have been, and happy and proud, but also disappointed and just gutted, and just a whole host of emotions that this Premier League season continues to provide us. But yeah, I'm sure we'll dissect and talk through.
Of course, and I mean, there's no better place to start, right? Right at the start, 2-0 down inside 6 minutes. Rasmus Højlund thought he was getting the rub of the green. Safe to say, that's probably our worst start to a game all season. But Jamie, start with Amari Bell. That mistake, have you watched it back yet? Have you sort of seen how it went down? I personally have not since yesterday. So, Finn, what about you? Have you seen it back?
Yeah, I have seen it back a couple of times. It is quite unlucky. In the build-up, Barkley and I'm not sure who it was he collided with, but the ref sort of got in the way as well. Completely accidental. There's nothing he could do. And then obviously the play moved on, so the ball was gone at that point. It looks like Bell's going to just get it back to the keeper and he just mishits it. So it was so unlucky as well. It wasn't really any fault of his own. It was just really unfortunate that he caught it so softly. And then he had Højlund bearing down on goal as well. And when you put him through 1-on-1 at the moment in his current form, I guess he was never really going to miss.
I mean, we thought it had gone bad to worse as well. We look at the corner. They went 2-0 up from Garnacho's wayward shot that was 100% going wide of the target, and then it bounces off Højlund, goes in for 2-0. Shouts for handball, shouts for offside, but ultimately 2 goals down, 6 minutes in. Jamie, what was your emotions at that moment in time?
Just a bit sick, I think, because you come into a game. And ironically, I was chatting to my granddad before how there was feelings of nervousness ahead of Sheffield United, but there was none of that against Man United. I think there was almost a sense of anticipation of, come on then, let's really take it to them. Feeling really positive, like Locks on Sky Sports punditry duties and all this good feeling around that, and hearing from him and how he's doing. And yes, then to go 1-0 down from like that Amari Bell mistake, which is you sort of caught in two minds whether to pass it across to Osho or pass it back to the keeper. It actually does neither of them and just passes it to Højlund's feet, and then the image of my eyes going black because I put my face in the palm of my hands, just thinking, for God's sake. And then the second one, as you say, it's just a massive stroke of luck. I didn't think it was offside or handball. I think where we're sat in that Kenny end, Kieran sort of behind the goal, because we were on the right hand side, I think it was Barkley or someone in the 6-yard box, and I saw Holland outside it, and I knew straight away that there was no chance of that being ruled out. It went straight off his chest as well, and just unfortunate that TK sort of gets sold to the left and then creates a gap on the right, and it just squirms in, and then you're thinking, oh, for God's sake, and as Edward says, he almost fears the worst as well, right? Because at 2-0, United do have the quality that they can go on and make it 3. Are we going to collapse? But it's rare this season that we have collapsed, and we've not collapsed for a few months now. I think the last time we collapsed was probably probably Chelsea, to be fair, which we bounced back from. But before then, it was probably the likes of Villa away. So it's not often in terms of us collapsing into a 3-4, 5-0 like Sheffield United have. I think they've let in 5 goals of each of the last 3 home games, and we've not quite gone to that extent. So there was an element of feeling positive, actually, that we could probably go on and get one back, and who knows what's going to happen. But at 2-0 down, to go 2-0 down the way we did with a mistake and a massive stroke of luck, you just feel a bit sick.
It's safe to say then that when Morris pulled one back, it came at the right time. I mean, it was only 10 minutes after going 2-0 down, but it's safe to say, Finn, from that moment, and even before the goal, quite frankly, we asserted our dominance on United and we put them under pressure. I think Jamie used the word scared at the time, and you could see heads were starting to go, yellow cards were getting brandished out, and we saw us take it to them. And again, it's nothing that we're not used to against these bigger teams, especially at home.
Yeah, the momentum completely shifted. And it wasn't even the Morris goal that shifted it. It was just the general pattern of play in the game and the atmosphere in the ground. The United fans, fair play to them, because they were brilliant all game. I've criticised a lot of away fans we've had at Kenilworth Road, but they were probably the best of the big 6 fans, which I hate to say, but they were. They really got going. They were making some noise, but then the atmosphere really picked up from the Luton fans. It lifted the players on the pitch, it seemed like. And then Morris's goal changed it all. Like, the momentum completely shifted at that point. It was a brave header from Morris, because he had Onana. I'm not sure what Onana was doing really. He was sort of shaking his arms about, trying to make himself big. But Morris came and he headed it, the loose ball, and he scored it. And it changed. Yeah, the atmosphere just lifted it completely. But at that stage, it was a bit worrying because we were 2-0 down so quickly. But you thought, oh, there's plenty of time now. We can really get back into this. And as you mentioned, the yellow card started to get brandished for United players. I think it was the directness of the way we were playing, running at players, forcing them to turn and make challenges on the turn as well. It was causing them to concede a lot of fouls. Down the left, I thought Alfie was playing really well. It's probably his best game in a while, I would say. The way he was really getting down that side, because Garnacho wasn't tracking him at all. He was just letting him run and run and run. And I think having Chong there helped as well, because Chong was making the runs across the line and inside, and it was just pulling Dallo around, so giving Alfie space down that side, and he was whipping balls in constantly. It was just a shame we didn't have Eli in there, because he really could have got on the end of some of those crosses. Woodrow has got a lot of stick from a lot of people, but he put in a real shift against United. But he's not a Eli, not in terms of his stature, not in terms of his finishing, but he put in an effort.
Yeah, I think the one thing that you can't take away from Woodrow, especially last night, is more his work rate. Like, I think technically he lacks ability in comparison to an Eli, and he's a lot less dynamic. Like, with Eli, he's very unpredictable. We know what we're going to get from him, but the trouble is his opposition defences don't. And I think that would have offered something incredibly difficult for United to deal with. I mean, they were struggling as it was, coping with Morris and Woodrow. Woodrow does have great hold-up play, but I think technically he lacks a little bit. He's a little bit slower to react, but it's the nature of what happens when the top striker and top goal scorer pulls up in the warm-up. I mean, speaking of game-changing moments, we've spoken of Morris and the goal. Potential game-changing moment that didn't go our way, Jamie. Let's look at the Casemiro tackle on Ross Barkley. Mr. already on a yellow card. Mr. accumulated 4 fouls already. And he sticks a 2-footer in on Ross Barkley. And the look on his face, watching it back, was, I'm off here. And the ref took one look at him and waved him away. Unbelievable at the time.
Yeah, and I think for me, what summarises the fact it should have been a red card for a second yellow is the fact that the excuse or the reason Rob Edwards gave in the post match for the United bench not thinking that it was a penalty or a red card, was that because they thought the first one wasn't. The first one was as clear as day yellow card you'd ever see at that level. Bell was running through, went past Casemiro and he just brought him down. And if the United bench are saying that is not a red card because they thought the first one wasn't a yellow card, that is them saying, yeah, that was probably a red card, wasn't it, lads? So yeah, I mean a theme from yesterday. Lots have been said about David Coote before in terms of being a referee. He's, I think for me, far and away the worst in the league. Despite all that we've seen at this level across refs, I think there's just someone that looks so out of place and so looks like he's won some sort of award to be there or some charity fund day out to be there. It's just it's a bit hilarious, really. I mean, it was a clear as day second yellow. I think if I'm being honest, the first one probably should have been a second yellow because there was two or three before that she should have been the first yellow. And there was other shouts throughout the game that should have been. I mean, obviously Maguire got booked, and I think that was probably fair. I think Shaw got booked. There was probably one or two that probably could have gone in a bit before, but they just have the ability to hook Shaw, Maguire, and Casemiro for Lindelof, Evans, and McTominay and get away with it. So as much as you don't want to blame officials or outcomes of moments on the loss, it certainly changes it, because if United go down to 10, and let's not underestimate McTominay, right? I think Casemiro probably is the slightly better player, but McTominay has come in clutch so often for them this season that he's scored big goals. I think he's actually a really good player, and that's coming from someone that follows England home and away, and that's me praising the Scot, right? So it shows how highly I think of him as a player at this level. So to be able to bring on someone like a Scott McTominay to replace a Butch Casemiro, for them that just gives them that security, which is frustrating because they probably shouldn't have been able to bring him on because they'd have had 10 men. But one of those things, Big Six club bias. That little smirk that Edward said when he was asked about the 4 minutes added on in the second half, in terms of, oh yeah, it's because United were 2-1 up, wasn't it? Just add it to the evidence book of this Big Six club bias that probably isn't sort of folklore anymore, or isn't sort of us bottom 14 clubs making it up. It's actually just true, and it's been evidenced game by game.
To sort of track back a little bit to the second half of the game there, Finn. So continuing to dominate going into the second half, despite their changes, I actually think the one change that was quite irritating to see was Johnny Evans came on for Maguire, and I actually think he handled Morris really, really well. You had Morris in the first half, who had Maguire looking like Bambi on ice. Turned into the second half, and I don't think he was as fruitful. Again, 2-1 down at the break, still dominating the second half, and obviously, as we know, we came away with nothing again. In terms of our attacking output, do you think there is something that needs to change, or do you think there's something that is missing? Oh, it's easy to sort of ask that question, obviously, with Eli out, but based off of sort of having a second option or a plan B, do you think that's something that we lack potentially up front?
Well, I wouldn't expect it to be the case because we have changed from a 3 to a 2 up front this season, but it did seem we were sort of lacking a bit of ability to switch it up. Obviously, Clicker came on in the second half, and he actually looked very good when he came on. He was sort of breaking through the lines and finding space like he does against some clubs. But yeah, we did seem to lack of options. Morris was really good all game. He was holding the ball up so well. He was drawing players in, particularly in the first half. He had Maguire all over him, and he was just clever the way he drew him in and then sort of stepped off him to draw him in and get the foul. And especially the way he won the free kick, and which resulted in the Maguire yellow card, was back to looking like the way he was playing, particularly in the second half of the Championship last season, where he was doing a couple of step overs or shifting the ball and then going with it. and forcing a defender to make a decision. And he probably looked as up to speed as he's looked in any game in recent weeks. And that's saying a lot because he's been brilliant recently. But yeah, I do think we sort of lacked that alternative option in the second half. It was quite frustrating. I hoped that we would go to a three up front with maybe Chong and Ogbene either side of Morris. I thought bringing Kabore on was probably a good idea, and having that option, because Ogbene was really struggling with his deliveries into the box. They were consistently not good all game, and it was wasting a lot of attacks as well. Like, he was trying hard to create an option, but I think Lindelof probably defended him better than Shaw did, because Lindelof doesn't want to push as high as Shaw was pushing in the first half. Actually, surprisingly, in the first half, Shaw's pace really caught me off guard when he was coming for a counter-attack and he was racing Ogbene for a ball. I was very surprised by Shaw's pace, but obviously I don't know if it was an injury, or I think it was an injury rather than the yellow card that they took him off for. But then Lindelof came on, he was sat a bit deeper, and it forced Ogbene to sort of be more technical, and which he tends to struggle with when a defender sits deeper. And then again as well, McTominay did sort of change the game for them. Casemiro is a brilliant defensive midfielder, but he's in his 30s now and he's not the most mobile. He's not as mobile as he used to be. So I thought McTominay got about a bit better. And as you mentioned, Evans dealt with Morris a lot better than Maguire was.
I think we need to persevere with Chong a bit more, if I'm being honest. I think if you go back to, I think it was one of Everton's coach's voices pieces actually, where he says about how he likes his attack sort of changing the tempo, where he slows it down and suddenly injects that pace of speed at sort of like short notice. I think Chong does that, and I think to an extent, I thought he was good yesterday. I think the difference now with him being very good, I think his game time is consistency, getting used to the level. There's times where I think you compared to, like, obviously Morris and Elijah, and it's completely different and so harsh to compare because of just their stature. But the way they hold the ball up and are able to back into a defender, obviously Chong can't do that. He can't do it right now, but who knows, with perseverance he might be able to sort of take that touch in front and win something. But on the ball going forward, I think he's one of our most bright. I think he just has that ability to really speed the game up. And I think he's just got that something that I think in a front three with Morris and Eli, or Morris and Chio, or Eli and Chio, I think he just has it. And even ironically, I mean, as someone that I do believe in being patient and creating the chances, we probably do need to take a few more shots from outside the box, where there's times where I think Barkley had 2 or 3 opportunities to sort of have a go. And I think Chong has that quality. We've seen against us how he has that quality to be able to pick a shot out of nothing. I think he had one against Sheffield United, but it sort of just went past the post. So I just think we just need to really give Chong some minutes. And I think it might be we started against Liverpool, he plays 90, looks bright, doesn't really do much in terms of goals or assists, or you might create one chance in 90 minutes, but it's experience. Then you go into the City Cup game, give him another game, it'd be the same story again, but just give him that time. And then suddenly you go into like your Palace away, or your Villa at home, and your Forest at home, and he's had those minutes, he's had that experience against top defenders, and then I think he really can take it to it. He'll be up to the speed of the game. He'll be up physically. Again, he's not the most physical, but I think given the minutes and given that time in the gym, I think he really can gain that strength and just that ability to just hold your centre of gravity and back into a defender and turn him. So for me, if there's one thing I see for the rest of the season, I just really want to give Chong that time and give him those games, because I really think that if we stay up, I think Chong can play a big part in that.
In terms of sticking with tactical changes or tactical setup, Jamie, the right back situation at the moment, obviously we've seen Ogbene playing right wing back pretty much the last 3-4 games. Kabore's been benched obviously since coming back from AFCON. Hashioka still settling in, probably visa stuff and everything in between. Do you think Ogbene is probably our best option at wing back, or do you think there's times, like there's a time and a place where, like Finn alluded to there, his deliveries aren't as good as a right wing back, and do we need a Kabore there to help him out, or perhaps be putting Ogbene in better positions further up the pitch?
I think it's easier said than done in terms of Kabore is the better defender or has the better quality in terms of crosses, because he's not exactly put in the best crosses this season. I think he's done one or two. He obviously assisted Chong for the Liverpool goal, and it was a brilliant ball in that moment. But it's not like he's doing an Alfie Doughty and sort of game after game putting like ball after ball in the box. I think in terms of our best front three at the minute, it's Morris Eli plus one. Now is that Chong or Clark or Townsend or Brown when he's back. I think putting Chio at right wing back is just a byproduct of having so many options. And is Chio the best of that sort of list of players that I read out? I think there's an argument to say he is. I think I certainly would like to see it, but if it, I think the argument right now, it isn't Chio or Kabore, it's Kabore or Chong, Kabore or Clark, Kabore or Townsend. That's what that is that dilemma, because you either play Chio at right wing back, and then you get another attacking player on the pitch like a Chong or a Clark or a Townsend, or you put Ogbene up top or not at all, and then you put Kabore there. So I think that's the question you have to ask yourself. It's not as easy as, do you do Kabore or Chio? So on current form, I guess in terms of like current performances, we've played our best football with Chio at wing back. Brighton 4-0, Newcastle away 4-4. Okay, we let in 4, but that wasn't the fault. That wasn't the fault of Chio. So for me, I stick with it. I think Kabore's done well, and I could see him having a good career, but now you're getting to the point where he's only got 12 games left of the season, and he's only a lone player, so it's not like you're sort of giving him minutes for our benefit next season. I would rather just start Hashi there. I think if it gets 5 or 6 games down the line and it's looking like, we're really struggling, or we're actually not far off being safe here because Forest have had -6 or Everton have had some more points taken away from them, and you think, okay, we're almost there, then you start Hashi. I think it gets to the point where Kabore probably doesn't even get minutes because of the long term benefit for Luton Town. So for me right now, you stay as you are. You put Chio right wing back, and then you choose from one of your other attacking options to come in alongside Carlton and Eli. And okay, things might change now with Eli being injured. Who knows how long that is? Do you start Corley Woodrow at Anfield? I thought he was actually pretty good, by the way, against Man United. But you probably don't. You probably put Morris up in the middle, and then 2 from Chong, Clark, Townsend, Ogbene. Probably you want that strength up top, and Chio's a lot stronger than Clark and Chong. So you probably start Ogbene up there and start Kabore. So that's probably that selection choice for Anfield. But going forwards with Eli fit, I think you need to put Chio on the right.
In terms of keeping standouts on players that played well from Saturday, albeit the mistake for the first goal, Amari Bell, from the second he conceded that mistake, was a standout for me, as was, as usual, Sambi Lokonga. I mean, there's a lot of Twitter discourse about the pair of these players. Some say with Lokonga, he doesn't do a lot. And I was having an interesting chat with Sue yesterday, who I sit next to, and she was very much like, I don't really understand the slack that either of these players get. And I think it kind of comes back to this idea of, like, we've said on this podcast multiple times, and so have you, Jamie, about this idea of the eyes test and stats test. How influential do you think Amari Bell is in this team, and how good was his performance yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually read a really good thread by Matt Aquino on Twitter I think, I'm not sure when it was, this morning or this afternoon, and actually statistically he's one of our better centre halves in terms of defensively, aerial duels, winning those battles. He is really strong, even compared to a Reece Burke. And then on the ball, I think he's miles better than Reece Burke in terms of the amount of forwards runs and the take-ons. That he almost looked a bit Ross Barkley-esque at times, where he sort of got past one or two United players and managed to get into their final thirds. So I think it's really harsh to say that Amari Bell's only in the side because he's left-footed. I think he's so much more than that. Okay, he's not your typical centre half. He's not 6'4", or he's not he's not super big or super strong. but he's a lot quicker than most as well. And I think, again, as part of that thread by Matt on Twitter, it was like looking at your average positions of players, and Alfie's so high that Amari is our most isolated centre half, which means tactically it makes sense for opposition teams to come and go at Amari Bell because he's going to be left 1-on-1 a lot of times. So the fact that we only conceded because of a mistake by Amari Bell on the ball, rather than defensively he was fairly solid. Okay, got done on the counter a few times, but that's just a byproduct of us being so brave on the ball. And that's probably something that needs looking at and being better in transition. And they had 3 or 4 good chances on the counter, but none of that was down to Murray Barrow. And in fact, I think he stopped a lot more than he got wrong yesterday. Apart from the mistake, I think from 2-0 on, he was mammoth. And again, I saw another tweet saying that Kenilworth Road can swallow you up, but at times you just to be able to just stand up and do what you did, the character on the lads. Again, to think that it was a free transfer from Blackburn Rovers, left back coming in, Blackburn Rovers slating him, thinking that why the hell have you got Amari Bell for? He's useless, or he's this or he's that. But now he's just a solid Premier League left centre half. So yeah, for me, he keeps his place until we sign a left-footed centre half in the summer, which I think if we go down, we probably start him. He's our first choice left centre half next season. If we stay up, we probably try and at least find someone there for competition. But until we find someone better than him, he's one of the first names on the team sheet.
No, I completely agree with Jamie there. I think he's a brilliant player. I think he's very intelligent in the way he plays. Obviously, as Jamie mentioned, he's not got that physical presence that a lot of other defenders do. You see Osho and you see Mengi really dominating their players that they're competing with in the air, but Bell manages to get himself in front of the player or will time his jump better just to beat them. That's just to beat them to the ball. And he also wins a lot of free kicks and fouls as well because of his stature and how intelligently he plays. He'll carry the ball and then he'll hold the ball. And he's got that body feint as well. Particularly last season, he would do it a lot. And he'd beat the first man or he'd beat the player pressing him, and then it gives himself space to move. And I think, despite the fact that he gets a lot of criticism, I think he's a brilliant player, and I think he's been consistently one of our best players this season. He gets far too much criticism, in my opinion, and I'm not sure where it comes from either. It's because, I think, as Jamie mentioned, he does get left isolated a lot because Alfie is so high. And you see Alfie sometimes takes a long time to track back, particularly from corners that haven't gone well. He does take his time getting back, and it leaves Bell back there on his own. And Bell is usually the one that stays back from a corner as well. He's usually the only one staying back because we commit numbers forward as well. And we haven't been done on the counter-attack from set pieces too often that I can think of. And a lot of that has probably come down to his composure and the way he brings the ball down and gets it back to Kaminsky or finds another player. So I think the criticism is unfair. You can't criticise him constantly about his performances just because he's made one mistake that could have been any player on the pitch. It just happened to come to him.
And in terms of Lokonga as well, our other standout player, Finn, we'll sit with you. Is there any sort of chance that we can keep this man on a permanent contract? I mean, everyone talks about Ross Barkley, and rightfully so. He's MVP of the season so far in a lot of people's eyes. However, there's a case to be made for Sambi Lokonga at this point. Since he's come back from injury, he's not put a foot wrong, has he?
Oh, absolutely not. He's absolutely brilliant. Arsenal apparently are happy for him to go in the summer. Whether we can afford him is another question. Every week he seems to be adding more and more to his value. As you mentioned before, it's sort of the hidden stuff that you maybe don't see as just watching as a fan in the ground. It's the work rate he puts in. The stuff that you do see that really stands out. How many times has he got back and saved us when we've been left isolated at the back? That block, I think it was it Garnacho that took the shot, or Bruno, whoever it was. I think it was Bruno who got his foot in. I don't know how he got his foot in there and managed to block it, and it pinged out for a throw-in, which Bruno was really, really annoyed about. He booted the ball against the hoardings. That, just to get back there and have the intelligence and the anticipation to get his foot in and just stop it. And it's not the first time he's done that this season, so I think his work rate. He's quite often drops into between the defenders when a centre half pushes forward. So, I mean, I'd love to have him stay next season. He would be absolutely, particularly if we stay up. We've got a chance of getting him if we stay up, I think. If we go down, we've got no chance of getting him because he's far better than the Championship, and there'll be plenty of Premier League teams looking at him thinking, oh, he could be a pretty good option for fairly decent value for money. And he's quite young still as well. He got opportunities when he was at Arsenal in limited numbers when they had injuries to other players. And to me, it's actually quite surprising that they'd be so willing to let him go because that midfield is constantly something they're looking to change and move players around in. And I think he is an absolutely quality player.
Yeah, I think Lokonga must have a love-hate relationship with Ross Barkley. He must love it in terms of love playing with him and being that man alongside him, but he must hate him. Think, stop taking all this limelight. Like, I honestly think if we didn't have Ross Barkley and if Lokonga was alongside a Nakamba this season, I think Lokonga would be lauded just like Dewsbury Hall was in that champ season. He's been that good. So I don't think he's not been like this season. I think a lot of fans know his worth and know how good he's been, but understandably I've been praising Barkley that bit more because of what he does going forward and is exciting going forward. But Lokonga's starting to add that to his game now. I think Lokonga's the more defensive of the two, but he's starting to add that sort of on-ball presence to his game. So I think if you put a poll out being would you take Lokonga next season on a permanent, I think that if that's not 100% yes, then I would like to meet anyone that says no. As Finn says, he's still 24. If we can get him for anything under 20 mil in the summer on the basis that we stay up, I think you just need to make it happen. You've got assets that we may let go in the summer. We might get 40-50 mil for one of the assets. And if we do, then it's absolutely imperative that we reinvest that in someone like a Lokonga. I think to buy Lokonga on the open market, if you were buying him from, I'm not sure where they got him from, it was someone like a Bruges or it was like a Belgian club, I think, that Arsenal got him from. I think if you bought him on the open market now, you're probably paying 40 million pound for him. So the only reason he'd be as cheap as 20 million or less is because Arsenal just don't want him and just want to get rid. So he'd be way below market value, and for that, I would have him in a heartbeat.
We're going to take a short break, but once we are back, we're going to talk all things Liverpool away.
I'm in Mexico.
But I'm actually here in London.
And I'm in Stevenage. Oh, I'm actually stuck in Stevenage. I might be stuck in Stevenage, but thanks to NordVPN, with one click, I can be anywhere in the world, whenever, wherever.
Bill, son, hang on. What about me? I'm basically in Holland every other week. What am I supposed to do with that?
NordVPN works as your own little bodyguard, protecting your personal and sensitive data, making sure you're safe on the internet whenever, wherever. NordVPN is available for just the price of a coffee per month. And to get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, please go to nordvpn.com/Oak Road Hatter. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee, and you'll help support our podcast. Link for this is in the podcast description box down below. Thank you very much.
We are back and we are ready to talk about all things Liverpool away on Wednesday. Sadly, Stephen, an Oak Road OG, is taking my ticket off me because my car Matilda is going in for a service. So all I'm going to do is sit and talk about it instead. Jamie, there's a lot of injuries in the Liverpool camp going into this game. Dissect them, discuss them with us, and are they going to have a bearing on the result?
Well, the fact that I'm sat here thinking that we couldn't, could we? we couldn't go to Anfield and get something. I mean, look, Alisson's injured to start with, so obviously one of the best keepers in the league. Kelleher's looking all right. I think he's a decent keeper and might become a good one, but he's not Alisson, so that's a downgrade. Trent, so that's straight away a massive set piece threat taken away. Again, almost copy and paste with Kelleher. I think Bradley will be a very good one. He's shown in the games he's played that he will be a very good player. But he's not Trent, so there's not much more you can say there. Both Chiedozie and Jones in midfield are injured. Again, very good players with Endo and McAllister and Gravenberch, but Chiedozie and Jones have both shown that extremely talented attacking ability going forward. So they're two big losses. Endo's a more defensive one. McAllister World Cup winner. That bit of both. Who was the other one? Gravenberch. I think he's shown good stuff, but again, he's not Chiedozie. And then the big ones are up top. I mean, I think the definites out. Jota, he's definitely out. It seems. Darwin Núñez is looking likely that he's out. I think he was having a scan. It was hamstring, came off at half time, and it seems like he's likely to be out. And then the second that rumours started to surf this morning that Mo Salah may be missing for the visit of Luton Town to Anfield. I think, Luton Town, what are you doing to me? Don't give me hope that we can go to Anfield on a Wednesday night and I can get back at 3 a.m. on the back of something that Luton have managed to get out of nowhere. But who knows? It would be deserved, regardless of how we play or how dominant Liverpool are against us tomorrow. We deserve points or a point against a big six side, and okay, we did get one against them at the Kenny, and it was a last minute equaliser from Luis Diaz. But we deserve to get something when we haven't deserved to get something. So maybe Wednesday night is the night. You've got all eyes on Chelsea Carabao Cup final. Luton Town come to town and they think that they can win it a canter, but they can't. And we've shown the character this season that we can dig in, we can fight for every ball. Where's your famous atmosphere, Anfield? Let's see it.
I mean, to be fair, I could have answered your question straight away when you said, "Oh, could we? Could we?" Well, on the pure basis of the fact that I'm now no longer going on Wednesday, there is an higher chance that we can. And so far, Finn, we've got a 100% record in Merseyside this season. 2 wins at Goodison, and now all we got to do is go across the road and hope for the best again. In all seriousness, what threat do you think we're going to pose against Liverpool?
Well, it's difficult to judge because of obviously those injuries Jamie's mentioned, but it is Liverpool at Anfield. They are notoriously difficult to beat at Anfield. They're notoriously difficult to get a point against at Anfield. So no matter who they've got available, they've got a wealth of talent in reserve. They're a bit like the Man Cities, the Arsenals, when they haven't got a few first-team players available, but it's okay because we've got this 30 million player who sits on the bench most weeks that can just slot in and take that place. But it's the players that are missing for them, or may be missing, or could. There's some massive names in there, some of their key players. Up front is the interesting one because who starts for them if Salah, Jota, Núñez are all out? So they've only got Luis Diaz and Cody Gakpo. Then would Harvey Elliott start on the right? I'm not sure. Presumably he would. Then in midfield, they've got no Thiago because he's made of glass. They've got no Szoboszlai, I suppose, and no Curtis Jones as well. So they're left with bare bones in midfield. And then in defence, Bradley's looked brilliant. So I don't think many Liverpool fans will be concerned if he plays over Trent because he has looked so solid in the other games he's played. Robertson's back on the left by the looks of it most weeks, and if not, Joe Gomez has been very solid there as well. So they have got all these injuries, but they have got a lot of depth in their team to sort of rotate it around. But it's Luton away at Liverpool, so whatever happens, they'll be. I'm not sure what the allocation is at all because it keeps changing, but it'll be a sold-out away and cheering Luton on, making more noise than probably the rest of Anfield combined. people say this Anfield atmosphere, but it's only usually European nights and big cup games that it turns up for. I spoke to a Liverpool fan in the pub before the game away at Everton in the FA Cup, and he was complaining about the lack of atmosphere at Anfield himself. He says he goes most weeks, but the tourists have taken over. The club want the money from the tourists, and that's what's killed the atmosphere there. But he said the midweek games tend to have a bit more because most people don't tend to fly over to the UK for those games. So there may be more of an atmosphere than we think, but I'm very doubtful they'll think it's only Luton, we'll just walk over them at home. But when you look at our team, depending who plays, of course, I hope we go to a 3 up front. I think we probably will. I don't know if Woodrow will get the opportunity to start in that one. And it's all about the press for me. Pressing them in defence. I mean, they're very good at getting it out of defence, but pressing Kelleher in particular, forcing him to make a decision because he's not used to playing in that and having to make quick decisions, whereas Alisson's much more composed on the ball. I think Townsend could come in for that one because his pressing is just so brilliant. He moves his arms so fast, he just doesn't seem to be moving his body at all, but he does press really well. It's a real difficult one to predict, but any outcome is realistic. It's the Premier League, anything can happen.
And Jamie, in terms of this game, and more so than you look at the next few games after, how vital is it for this next, say, 3-4 games that we get a point here? Is this somewhere where, based off of the last 2 games, where we thought we were going to get points to Sheffield United, and then United against Man United, we should have probably got points. How vital is a point here, let alone 3?
I mean, obviously a point is vital, right? It's a bonus point. So if we get a point, then it's another point closer to probably the 35 or so points needed to stay up. But it's not needed. It would be seen as a bonus point, and I think that's all you can see it as. I think the Operation Survival restarts next game, Villa at home, when you got Villa at home, Palace away, Bournemouth away, Forest at home. Those 4 are the big ones. So forget Liverpool away in terms of, we need a point, we need 3 points. No, we just go there, and for me, goal difference, let's just not collapse. Because you're seeing tonight, Palace have just drawn to Everton. They were -16, we were -13. Let's not make that -17 or -18, shall we? Let's just try and just not lose our heads. Clearly we're going to go there and try and win because that's all we know, and that's how we play and how we do things. But just don't lose your heads and lose the game 4-0 or 5-0, because that could be more damaging than sort of going for it and sort of losing 1-0, 2-0. So yeah, we go there. Let's just enjoy it, right? Because it's the Premier League. A game at Anfield. I was there when it was the cup replay, the 5-0, and you go there and you enjoy it. So let's do that again. Let's get behind them. If we get a bonus point, then that's a well deserved bonus point, and we take it into Villa at home with some really good confidence.
Talking of scores, Jamie, let's talk about score predictions then. We'll start with you, keeping it nice and simple. What are you thinking the score is come Wednesday night?
Yeah, again, obviously it's head in your heart. Your heart thinks, "Oh, can you?" Because it's because of the injury issues that Liverpool have. But I think my sensible head is Liverpool will obviously have too much for us and they'll beat us. But given their injury issues, given that they've got eyes on Sunday, I think it will be something like a 2-0. I think they'll get ahead, but then they're not going to overextend themselves. They're going to play it safe. They'll rock up thinking, right, let's get the 3 points for the Premier League title race, but then let's not risk anything. So you probably bring off Luis Diaz and Hakpo early. You bring off Verge early, or Konate early, Robertson or Bradley, for example. So yeah, I'm going to go Liverpool 2-0.
Finn, what are you thinking? Are you going same way as Jamie, or are you a bit more optimistic?
Yeah, again, like Jamie, I'm thinking my heart says we can get something, but I think my head overrules it at this time. It's away at Anfield. It's such a difficult place to go. So I'm going to say 3-1 Liverpool. But I do think if they go 2 goals ahead, and then in the second half, I think they might bring on some youngsters as well, because their bench will have quite a few of them on. They'll want to rest first team players, so they could see a McConnell or a Bobby Clark come on, and that could give us the opportunity to sort of make an impact in the game, and I can see us getting a second half goal as a result.
I'm going to stick similar vibes to you, Finn. I'm only going to go 2-1 on the other hand, not quite 3-1. A little bit closer, purely on the injury front. I don't think they'll be as cutthroat up top. I think it all ultimately depends on how many minutes Mo Salah gets. If there's rumours he's out for the game, I'd be surprised if he's out, but I also wouldn't be completely surprised if he doesn't do a full 90. He'll probably do 50, 60 and they'll drag him. But I think, again, like you said, head overrules your heart. I'm going to go Luton 1, Liverpool 2. That is all for today, champs. I hope you've enjoyed having me hosting, yours truly. Probably will be the last time because, Bill, you need your job back, let's be fair. Jamie, Finn, thank you ever so much for joining me this evening. And until next time, troops, take it steady. See you after Liverpool.